Welcome to week 2 of Introduction to Digital Humanities. This week, we're going to explore what the word humanities means in digital humanities. And we're going to explore that topic with two different thinkers. We're going to start with Joseph E. Aoun of Northeastern University, and then we're going to look at the works of Lisa Spiro of Rice University. And what I'm going to do in this short talk is first I'm going to unpack both of those readings for you, and then I'm going to apply it to your own work as you create your own value statement as a digital scholar for this week. Let's begin with Aoun's idea of Humanics. Now, that comes from his 2018 book, Robot Proof. And this book was a response to automation and technological development. And it was very prescient about our current artificial intelligence crisis right now we have in education. In that book, Aoun argues that we need to prioritize experiential learning and think about how can people actually experience the kind of skills and technology they'll need to use in their future professions. And he ends up designing this idea of Humanics as a core curriculum that has three components to it. Those components are the three new literacies. And we could quibble saying, I don't know, these literacies are new, but that's how Aoun presents it. The first new literacy is technological literacy. Do I know how to use technology effectively? And do I know how the technology actually works? So we think about that in light of like ChatGPT. Not only do I know how to do prompt engineering to use it, but do I know how a large language model works? So technological literacy would be part of the curriculum to help me know that. Then he adds data literacy. Do I know how to collect data? Do I know how to store it? Do I know how to structure it so that it can be used in a database? And he sees that as an important thing for us to learn in our education. And in this class, you'll have a data storytelling project, or you'll work with structured data, and you'll have a textual analysis project where you work with unstructured data, and we'll think about those distinctions further along in the term. The final literacy in Aoun's framework is human literacy, and that involves our capacity for collaboration, communication, and aesthetic responses to art and beauty. Now, you might be saying, hold on there, isn't that just the humanities? And in many ways it is. But I'd like to propose to you that Aoun is making an intervention in two important ways. One, by having humanics be the synthesis of technological literacy, data literacy, and human literacy, he is both reclaiming the importance of the humanities and putting it into an important relationship with our technological concerns today, especially in this crisis of automation. Two, he's going out this way of thinking through what is the value-added proposition of being a human. Now, I'm using the business language of value-added proposition on purpose here. He's thinking, we have these things that machines do well. What do humans do well that machines can't? And his answer is we can be creative, we can be entrepreneurs, and we can have cultural agility. And so we're able to do things that machines can in that way. This brings in some concerns, though, that I personally have with this framework. First, we can think about what the name of it is, Humanics. Think about the difference between Humanics on one hand and Humanities on the other. And you might notice that Humanics sounds like this combination, the synthesis of humanities with mechanics. There's maybe more of a machined way of thinking about the humanities. How can I think about the mechanics of this? And I do not think that's on accident. It may seem that emerges from his process, but I think it comes out from the way he's thinking because he starts with what do machines do? And then how can we be robot proof? What's our value added proposition? And instead, though, we might want to think about who am I as a human? What community am I in? What do we do well? And then how can we use the tools to do that? It may seem like a subtle difference, but that's part of what we're examining this week is how do my first propositions, how do what I care about affect the way I think about other things, the way I tackle projects, the way I use technology? Because Aoun starts with what does a robot do? How do I be robot proof? That's prioritizing the machine over the person. I don't think that's actually how his value structure works, but I want to point out as what can be a critique of how he works. Now, moving on to Spiro, she goes at this a different way. She thinks about not what the tools do, but how are competing cultures synthesized through the process of making the digital humanities. The two cultures he looks at are academic culture, which prioritizes kind of the lone wolf academic who publishes on their own, and internet culture that prioritizes openness and accessibility and things of that nature. Now, academic culture cares about accessibility too, but there's sort of a disconnect between the two. There's tension between the two. And in digital humanities, we need both. We need the academic culture focus on being correct and having rigor. And we need the internet culture focus on being open and available to others and democratizing knowledge. And so what Spiral comes to this idea is that we need to have a value statement. We need to say in digital humanities, what do we value? And she proposes a handful of values. I talked about 3 important ones last time when you had our first welcome video. And what Spiral proposes is we focus a lot on openness. It needs to be open access. It needs to be available to other people. It needs to be transparent. We value collaboration and collegiality. We need to work together to build these projects because, frankly, we can't all do it on our own. But also, what comes from that is the need for inclusion and diversity. Digital humanities tends to really care about how are we bringing everyone into the project, how are we bringing everyone together, make sure everyone has a voice, make sure there's equity. And that equity actually goes through the entire framework that Spiral was talking about, because openness enables equity, collegiality enables equity, and so that's where you can bring in inclusion. And Spiral proposes that we need to have almost like a manifesto, a value statement that says, here's what we care about. Now, I know I've been presenting Aoun and Spiral as though they're coming from completely different perspectives, with Aoun responding to a technological crisis in education and Spiral defining how can the digital humanities be seen as a value framework. But I want to read you something from the end of Robot Proof that I think gives us a little bit different perspective. This is the second to last paragraph in the afterword of Robot Proof. Here it is. Education is not a panacea for humanity's troubles. We cannot educate ourselves out of all our social and natural predicaments. We can, however, help individuals brace for change and embrace the technological miracles that lie ahead. Perhaps, if we educate enough of them, society's weight will shift, making it more equitable, more just, and more sustainable. Let's get that sentence again. That's the heart of the matter. Perhaps, if we educate enough of them, society's weight will shift, making it more equitable, more just, and more sustainable. I believe that when people are given education, they may still be astonished by the changes and mysteries that the future holds, but they will see these as opportunities rather than threats. So that's the second to last paragraph in Aoun's afterword. So really, they're both focused on values. They both hold values about their professions as educators, their values as their work in research, and they're trying to hold on to those values through technological changes. So what does that mean for you? This week, you're going to make a value statement. You're going to say, what do you care about? And this week, you're going to go into the forum and you write a short reflective statement where you say, what do I care about during my time at Centenary? What do I hope to produce? And who do I hope will benefit from what I produce at Centenary? And then think about, what do I hope will be significant and meaningful during my time at Centenary? Now you might be wondering, why are you focusing on my time in higher education rather than my time in this class? That's because your core values will be coming out more in that way. And then we want to think about how to apply them to this class, which if you want to, you can do in this first assignment, but you aren't required to. And you might be thinking, well, why are we doing this? Why aren't we just working on the tools? Here's why. Everything has a value embedded in it. The tools that are made, the way we do research, the way that we analyze our data, and the way we present our research. And what we need to do first is articulate those values and say, here's what I care about. Here's who I care about. Once you do that, we can then start applying them to the projects you create. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record all of these with your names. And as you're developing your final project, I'm going to think about how can I help you make sure your core values are reflected in that. Because if you are following your core values, you will find the project to be meaningful, you will care about it, and you'll be able to make sure it benefits people that you care about. And that's what I want for you in this class.